Good morning and a very warm welcome to Governance Leadership Summit 2021. Governance Leadership Summit is an initiative of Elects Technomedia and e-Governance magazine to bring together top policymakers, administrators, officers, and industry experts on a common platform to discuss and deliberate upon the scope, opportunities, innovations, and ideas in the field of governance, particularly against the backdrop of COVID pandemic. In this inaugural session of today, this 2 days long virtual conference we'll be having throughout the course of the day today as well as tomorrow. There will be various sessions on various sectors of the economy in the form of interesting panel discussions, special addresses, and technology sessions by eminent experts and policymakers who will be sharing their ideas and innovations, as well as will be outlining their vision for the future in the field of governance. We are privileged and honored to have a very special guest with us today in this inaugural session. The Secretary, Union Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India, Mr. Durga Shankar Mishra. Mr. Durga Shankar Mishra is a senior Indian Administrative Service Officer of 1984 batch from Uttar Pradesh cadre. Mr. Mishra has held various senior assignments in union as well as state governments covering revenue administration, internal security, vigilance, civil aviation, tourism, sports, agriculture and research, taxation, medical and health, mining and urban development. Mr. Mishra has also served as a principal secretary to the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh for over 2 years. He is a BTech in electrical engineering from IIT Kanpur and also an MBA in international business from University of Western Sydney, Australia, and postgraduate diploma in public policy from the Institute of Social Studies. He has taken keen interest in promoting good governance and has published various papers on the subjects related to good governance, public administration, and development administration in national as well as international journals and books. He has represented union and state governments at various national and international fora and also has participated in various workshops and conferences. He had been a visiting faculty in the University of Guelph in Canada, and he is fond of trekking, sports, and tourism. I'm also joined by the founder, publisher, and chief executive officer of Elects Technomedia, Dr. Ravi Gupta. Under the captaincy of Dr. Ravi Gupta, Elects Technomedia has become one of the major players into the B2B media segment, knowledge conferencing, and technology research. I now invite Dr. Ravi Gupta to kindly welcome the chief guest, Shri Durga Shankar Mishra ji, for his keynote address.
Sir, it's an honor to have you with us in the opening the session of the Governance Leadership Summit, and we are honored to have you keynote address today. And you have taken so much initiatives in the field of ICTs in the urban sector, both in the smart cities and many other areas. So I will request you to please deliver a keynote address where you talk about importance of ICTs in the governance reforms and overall urban sector reforms and urban development for the citizen services also. Welcome, sir. Good morning.
I think some of the mics are okay. Now I think all that noise is gone. So is my voice clear, Gupta ji?
Yes, sir. Perfectly clear, sir.
Okay. Mr. Ravi Gupta, the CEO of Elects Technology, and Mr. Mishra. At the outset, let me first thank you for organizing this 2 days webinar on Governance Leadership Summit 2021. I was going through the kind of participants, the kind of those who are going to deliver different kind of sessions, different kinds of programs, and I find it's a very, very interesting Tuesday deliberation covering almost all aspects of governance, most of the aspects of governance, not all, but I'll say most of the aspects of governance, with a special focus on urban governance. That seems to be a focus. You very rightly, Mr. Mishra, mentioned that we are going through a phase which has given us a big jolt. From March 2020, the first wave of corona, and not only systems in our country, but across the world, the developed countries, whether it is US, UK, Germany, Italy, all these countries, they have been very badly impacted. There is so much of loss to business, so much loss to life, and so many things. I mean, the whole economy across the globe, they have been badly impacted. Then comes everybody fought very well with the first wave, and our country's performance was praised across the globe. I mean, the way we handled through the series of lockdowns and making sure that wherever we were weak, like we did not have enough number of the PPE kits, we didn't have the ventilators, we didn't have the sanitizer, all these things we have not been prepared, we were not prepared like the most of the developed countries. And here was a pandemic engulfing the whole world, engulfing the whole country. And the way we fought, not only we emerged winners, but we became contributing to well-being of the humanity across the globe. Whether it was medicines, whether it was sanitizer and PPE kits, various things, we started exporting and giving it to the various parts of the world. That shows a new face of India. Some of the programs which we had not thought of, things like Atmanirbhar Bharat, making the country self-reliant, that shows the confidence of the nation, which was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister, and the series of schemes were launched. And my ministry was one of the pioneers in that activity. In fact, just to share with you, two major programs which are now missions are doing so well. One, affecting the lives of street vendors who are so much important. I mean, we are talking about business, we are talking about governance, so much important to all of us. I call them nano entrepreneurs. They are the entrepreneurs who would like to take risks, who are skilled, who invest, and who do well. I mean, slowly move up despite all kinds of onslaught of the system. They move up. This segment was never ever seen prior to this pandemic. No schemes in the government was benefiting them. But when we saw them moving back to the rural areas, moving back to the smaller towns, from the bigger towns, say from Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Calcutta, and all these places, we found how important they were. And it was so much astonishing that they were taking loan at the interest rate of as high as 300 to 500% per annum. Because they were taking short-term loans and returning, and that's how they were never out of indebtedness. Then government came with a scheme called the PM Swanidhi, and I'm very happy to share with you, this is one scheme of the government of India, which is end-to-end IT driven. Right from the application till the delivery is a completely IT driven scheme. And because of the way we structured this scheme, today we have got more than nearly 41 lakh plus applications already taken just in a period of 9 months. More than 24 lakhs applications were sanctioned, and more than 20 lakhs applications were finally disbursed. I mean, more than 2,000 crores were released to these street vendors. Only yesterday evening, I mean, after the second wave of the pandemic, which again started sometime toward the end of March, and again it gave a big jolt to the whole activity. I mean, we had all been thinking that we are out of pandemic, but then came the second wave and came series of the lockdowns imposed by the different states, various restrictions on the economy, various restrictions on the movement, and this street vendors were not impacted. I mean, they were not left being impacted. Yesterday, I held a meeting with the state government, with the banks, with all other stakeholders who are involved, the cities who are involved in this, and I was so happy to see the kind of enthusiasm among the banks, among the states, among the cities to do their best for these street vendors. In fact, during the course of this, we came with a lot of new ideas. For example, using e-commerce. You will be happy to know that we engaged Swiggy and Zomato in getting the street vendors food to the people, because sometimes I come from Lucknow. In Lucknow, some chaat wala is so much well known. Some kulfi wala is so much well known. They are street vendors. But when this chaat wala or a kulfi wala, whenever they bring to the street, I mean, people throng from different parts of Lucknow and they get it. Think of it, if they were given this facility of e-commerce, if they receive the order, they prepare that kind of a food, and that food is delivered at home, how much business it will improve. And this is what, as a pilot, we started with Swiggy and Zomato, and it has wonders during this pandemic, the second phase. And now we want to upscale it, not only the purpose of the street food vending, but also for all other items. Because we have seen a way during the pandemic how the consumer and the producer can be connected to the digital platform. How much boost this can give to the business. We also, we started with a pilot of this, was the idea of the Honorable Prime Minister, from Swanidhi to Samriddhi. Why not connect these small street vendors, their family, with all other programs of the Government of India, and without going for, going to those who are from whom you'll get the benefit. We did a socio-economic profiling of their family, and I'm happy 125 cities we tried, and in those 125 cities, the total beneficiaries were around 6 lakh. Nearly 3.7 lakh plus beneficiaries were touched during only 2 months, during the month of January, February, and some part of March. And more than, there's a large number, more than 1 lakh beneficiaries have been benefited under different schemes without going anywhere. It was all completely IT driven, the way, things happened. And now we want to upscale it to the whole country. So there is an immense scope. This is a learning of the pandemic. During the pandemic, my ministry launched a scheme called Affordable Rental Housing Complex. We had never thought of this kind of thing as social housing. We have gone for ownership housing. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, earlier JNNRM scheme, but now we are going for the social housing. Under the social housing, there is immense interest shown by the public sector, private sector. A lot of companies have contacted when we issued our interest, showing the interest in investing into this affordable rental housing complex. More than 80,000 such commitments are there from the public sector and the private sector, just in a period of 9 to 10 months. This shows the resilience of the system. Despite the pandemic, given the proper environment, we can deliver a lot. In fact, the very fact that today I am addressing all your audience who have joined from different parts of the country, this Governance Leadership Summit, this has been made possible in the last 7 years. The way the whole IT structure, IT infrastructure has taken shape, has moved ahead. Now connected, whether it's the rural area, urban area, is a huge connectivity, and that's how we are able to connect with each other on different kinds of digital platforms. We are able to share our ideas as if we are sitting in the same room. Why I am saying so? Because sometimes pandemic brings, it devastates. Pandemic of any kind, it devastates the whole human life, human living, habitat, all kinds of aspirations. Think of those who have lost their lives, how the families have been devastated. But it also brings a lot of opportunities. And those are the opportunities which one should link on, because if the country has to move ahead to a new level, it can only move ahead if the people in that country, because ultimately the people in the country have to contribute to their best, and pandemic or no pandemic, they have to think of what best you can do. And this is what, whether it is the infrastructure pipeline, think of it, 110 lakhs crore investment coming in different sectors. And out of that, nearly 17-18% comes from my ministry. Different schemes are my ministry. So this is the confidence of the country, and that confidence gets to be translated during this pandemic in a different mode. Think of it, the Central Vista project. The Central Vista project, our country was holding our parliament. The parliament was being held. If any of you have visited the parliament, the kind of, this was never meant as a parliament. When the Britishers came out with a parliament, it was never meant as a parliament. And we retrofitted it to make it a parliament. We cannot increase the number of parliamentarians. The number of MPs is frozen at 550 because we can't have more seats. Our member of parliament who represent lakhs of people across the country, think of it when they sit on their seats, when they come out of that place, they have to stand and kind of squeeze, and so many issues. There is no natural light coming into parliament. The whole building is so much stress. Is the confidence of the country that during the pandemic in December 2020, Honorable Prime Minister laid foundation of the new parliament building, and we will complete this by 2020. It's a parliament for the people. What is being done for the people of India. They can come and see how vibrant this democracy functions. The whole world can take lesson. It will have state-of-the-art technology. It will have, and it is all Indian technology, all Indian architects, Indian planners, Indian construction agencies, Indian material, Indian things. It's all India. It's Atmanirbhar. This is the parliament. That's a major, bold statement this country can give. And this is possible only through a proper leadership. With the under the guidance of the Honorable Prime Minister, something that was long overdue is now taking shape. That is taking shape of the new India. The new India has got the new parliament. It will have a new central vista. The next year's our Republic Day parade, come and see those who have visited the Central Vista Avenue. The kind of structures they were there, the kind of lack of amenities. When you see things outside, you had so many hutments almost covering 90 acres on the Central Vista. All these things which were there, now they are going to be a matter of the past, and we will have a new India with a new face. This India which shows this confidence. We've come across the country. See, this is smart city. Smart city. Because we have been talking about the ICT, a smart city. This is a new idea. It's a new paradigm in the developmental thinking. I'm in the 38th year of my service in the Indian Administrative Service. Before a smart city mission, which was launched in 2015 June, we have mostly heard, experienced, and learnt the government program, whether it is the federal government or the state government or the local government, is a matter of entitlement. If you have this, then you will get this. If you have this, you get this. Not that. Through the challenge process, if you can do this, then you get this. Through your strength, show your strength, show your aspirations, show your dreams, that I can take my city to this level. And then through the challenge process, you are selected. So 100 cities were selected for the first time in a government program through a challenge process. And now let me tell you, now the challenge process has become a norm. It is no more a new thing. When the smart city was launched in June 2015, it was something new to us. But now we keep on challenging our system, and we find that the moment you challenge somebody, you find that he or she delivers his best. One good example is the Swachh Sarvechan. The cities have improved their cleanliness standard through the Swachh Sarvechan. Recently, we have piloted the Payjal Sarvechan. We want to focus on water being so much important. And with this, the Payjal Sarvechan, the cities are again going to be in a healthy competition, improving their water standard. We have a climate smart cities. They've got so many things. I don't want to give examples. There are hundreds of things post smart city that they started taking shape. And what smart cities have given, in the last 5 years, it is going to complete the 5 years very soon now. This smart city, now 61 cities have got integrated command and control centers. 25 of them are coming up. The many development, any of the smart cities, one can go and see the kind of development has taken shape. But what is most important, most striking is this: they have given ways for the future development of our city. Because our country in 2011, our census figure is say around 37-38 crores. But this is projected to go to nearly 88 crores by 2051. 2051 only 30 years from now. Just 3 more decades. 3 more decades and we are 88 crores. We are much more than today. Our estimate is after 2011 census, we should be around 46 crores by now. That's our estimation. So from 46 crore to 88 crore is a big journey. And in this journey, if we allow the urban development to happen the way it has been happening, the business as usual, life will become so much damning, so much difficult. People coming with aspirations to the urban area will find that they can't move a few kilometers from one place to another place. It will be so much congested, so much polluted. Life will become so much challenging. We have to take a smart path. We have to make sure that one, the land being so important has to be used very judiciously. We have to get the best out of the land. We have to make sure that our urban planning is such that people are able to realize their dreams, realize their aspirations, and the cities become the engines of economic growth by ensuring that people don't have to struggle, but they have to contribute for the betterment, for the economic growth of the city. And that is the learning from the smart city. How we can get more from less. You may have the little water, but that water could be made sufficient for everybody if the water is not leaked. I mean, we have got cities which has got 30 to 50% of water leakages, then which is called non-revenue water is 30 to 50%. We have to bring down to less than 10%. And that is possible. I mean, there's a smart city has shown it is possible. You can have 24/7 water supply. The water consumption will reduce if you have 24/7 supply. The smart city have shown that through the smart water system, you can have that. A smart city have shown that how you can get renewable energy, how you can tap the source of renewable energy, how can improve your sanitation system, whether it is a solid waste or a liquid waste, how can improve your sanitation system, all these learning, how can you improve your mobility so that there is no congestion, no accidents on the road, there is no air pollution. So a lot of learning from there. And during the pandemic, you see our integrated command and control center, which in my tweets, I always use this as the brain and the nervous system of the city. Like we can't function without our brain and the nervous system. So the cities, if they get their brain and nervous system, they can perform much more optimally. And optimally for what? For benefiting the citizens, for taking care of the needs of the citizens. So this ICCC, they worked as war rooms. If you have been following on the social media, if you have been following on the electronic or the other media, they all worked as the war rooms for the city, cities. Not only for the cities, even for the whole of a state. Whether, I mean, even during the second wave of the pandemic, whether it was the oxygen supply, whether it is increasing your bed capacity, whether it is the vaccination drive, logistics management for various things, various kinds of mobile applications, home isolation, I mean, various kinds of things related to the COVID management, all those challenges, they have been addressed through this ICCC for the city and for the whole of the state. In fact, our ICCC have become a very important instrument in providing right kind of information to the citizens. It's a one-stop solution to the citizens. It's a very good tool for managing various kind of logistics. Very good tool for all kinds of communication, whether connecting doctor to the citizens, connecting doctor to the doctor, connecting two different kinds of stakeholders, managing this a lot of NGOs, a lot of civil society organizations about connecting all of them. This is a good communication system, and also it has worked good for predictive modeling, preparedness. How many beds we require? What is oxygen required? What is this required? I mean, things you can predict using, you can model, and these smart cities have played a very, very important role there. Now we have, I mean, you may be following, in the month of May, we launched a document called Learning from the Smart City. I mean, making cities smart, learning from the smart city. So our now objective is how we can take this learning from the smart cities to all the cities. Let the future development of India, future urban development of India, take a smarter path. Otherwise, we were investing, the cities were sprawling, it was not inclusive, catering for one kind of population, not catering to the needs of other population, whereas everybody is so much important. We need to take care of the physical, financial, economic, social, institutional, all the requirements for everybody. It was not being taken care of. Ultimately, The cities are for the people. Cities are not for the mayor. Cities are not for the administrator. City is not for the municipal commissioner. Cities are for the people. And people means all kinds of people. Because there is a whole category of people, whether it is those who are providing labor or those who are providing a higher level of intellectual activities, all of them are important and necessary for the city, and everybody must be provided a conducive environment in the city. And that is the learning we have had from the smart city. When it is education, we have a smart education. When it is health, it's a smart health. I mean, go and visit city of Agra or Pune, many cities. I give you so many examples. You see how the health programs have been made smarter, how they can cater to much bigger population with the same kind of facility. That is the major focus is how to get more from less. How to get more from less. That's the focus of the smart cities. So we would like all our cities to move into that direction. But smartness, the first thing is required is a smart leadership. I mean, a place can become smart only if the leaders are smart. When the citizens are made smart, I mean, this is how they can make use of the resources whatever is available. And there, our learning is, I mean, the smart leader is one who is open to the new ideas, who will invite innovations. Now the world, I mean, the India is a major hub for the startups. And these startups, new ideas, much lesser cost, deliver, they are able to cater to our requirement, cater to our solutions. So that this leader is a technology savvy also. I mean, you cannot just say that whatever is going on, let it go on. I mean, we have to embrace the technology and use the technology in the best possible manner to serve the requirement of citizens, that is serving the people. What Honorable Prime Minister says is the ease of living. In fact, for the first time in our country, in 2019, we came out with ease of living index. Again, the second version of ease of living index we published last year in 2000, not last year, this year. 2020 was published this year, and we also came with the municipal performance index. We have got, I mean, all these new things are happening so that this country can move to another level. It's a transformative level. So it's like you reform, you bring some reforms. From the reform, you perform, and then you transform the whole area. That is the reform, perform, and transform has been our mantra in Government of India. I'm not speaking about my own ministry. Take any ministry in Government of India, they have had this mantra of the reform, perform, and transform. These three things together in that order leads to a lot of changes, and that is what is required in a leadership. Whatever leadership, whatever sect, I mean, the leadership doesn't mean that you have to be in this sphere or that sphere. Whatever sphere you are, you have to do your best. Get the best out of your people, get the best out of your resources, so that the country moves on an economic growth path. The path which has been chosen, and it has been already shown, the path by the Honorable Prime Minister, that we were $3 trillion economy. We have to move to $5 trillion, then to $10 trillion economy in, say, another 10 years. And this, there have been some setback, no doubt. I mean, this pandemic has brought setback. The economy, I mean, the kind of growth which was there, that got decelerated, definitely, and the whole world has been impacted by that. We can't be untouched. But if the people's spirit is there, if the proper leadership is there, we will come back. And I just finish my talk with one example. For example, the real estate sector, which was under great stress. And through the series of reforms, series of activities which can enlist you, whether it is financial, programmatic, fiscal, various kinds of measures, this real estate sector was brought to a level that started growing. It's a very, very important sector for the GDP, very important sector for the employment, started growing. Then comes the pandemic, and the sector got a big setback. But again, after December onwards, see the reports, you see the figures. By March, it was almost at the same level where it used to be the previous year. So despite pandemic, it has come back. It started, going through. But again, there has been a setback because of the second wave of pandemic. I am sure the resilience our real estate sector has shown, it is going to come back again. Because we have the numbers, we have the commitment, and we have the drive to move forward. This is one important segment of Indian economy. So will other sectors do. So I think your discussion for the next 2 days on the governance leadership, it will be very, very important and should definitely give you a lot of cues what people have. And I'm sure people will come and share with you what they have done under the this is kind of a stressful situation. In fact, the leadership really comes out well when you are under stress. That the real leadership, there is the your gem that comes out when you are under stress, when you are under some kind of a difficult situation. So they will share with you. I'll request you to document that and take the best out of, like the nectar out of that, and you can publish that. This is the finding of this 2-day summit. These are the things how the Indian leaders have performed during in the wake of the pandemic, and what is the way forward. That could be a good contribution of this Governance Leadership Summit 2021. I wish you all the very best, Raviji. Wish you all the very best for the team which is organizing this. Thank you.
बहुत धन्यवाद sir, and you have highlighted so many initiatives of the ministry which are totally exemplary and bringing up reforms in the sector in a big way. And I also wish to thank you for recently releasing the special issue of eGov, where we published a special issue along with the National Institute of Urban Affairs on housing sector, SDG. So for that also, and a virtual certificate from our side as a token of gratitude to you for joining us in this keynote address. Thank you so much for joining us. We are honored and humbled by your presence. Namaste, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.